Good evening. Hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Tonight's big talking point. It's exactly 1 month after the Pahalgam massacre. What really has changed in the past month? We're going to discuss that and raise several relevant questions. Also, 2 Israeli embassy staff killed in Washington. What are the implications of that for that conflict? And the Booker winner, Banu Mushtaq, will be joining me. She's among my special guests on the show today. So we've got plenty to look forward to, as always, on the news today. But let's first, though, turn to our top story tonight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi went all guns blazing once again against Pakistan. During a visit to Bikaner in Rajasthan, exactly a month after the Pahalgam massacre, the Prime Minister fumed at the manner in which that terror attack had taken place, once again squarely blaming the Pakistan-based sponsored terror. But he said that terrorists now know what happens when sindoor turns into barood. He went on to add that he will keep to his promise to reduce terror to rubble and won't let the country down at any cost. Listen in first to the Prime Minister in Bikaner.
22 तारीख के हमले के जवाब में हमने 22 मिनट में आतंकियों के 9 सबसे बड़े ठिकाने तबाह कर दिए। दुनिया ने और देश के दुश्मनों ने भी देख लिया कि जब सिंदूर बारूद बन जाता है तो नतीजा क्या होता है। सौगंध मुझे इस मिट्टी की, मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा। मैं देशवासियों से कहता हूं, जो सिंदूर मिटाने निकले थे, उन्हें मिट्टी में मिलाया है। जो हिंदुस्तान का लहू बहाते थे, आज कतरे कतरे का हिसाब चुकाया है। जो अपने हथियारों पर घमंड करते थे, आज वो मलबे के ढेर में दबे हुए हैं। ये शोध प्रतिशोध का खेल नहीं, ये न्याय का नया स्वरूप है। ये सिर्फ आक्रोश नहीं है, ये समर्थ भारत का रौद्र रूप है। ये भारत का नया स्वरूप है।
Tough words there from Prime Minister Modi in Bikaner. The Congress, though, persisted with its demand, saying they want a joint parliament session on Operation Sindoor. Listen in to what Praniti Shinde, the Congress MP and spokesperson, said.
जब देश स्पष्टता, पारदर्शिता और निर्णायक नेतृत्व की मांग कर रहा है, तो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी का सर्वदलीय बैठक में शामिल होना और जो खरगे जी और राहुल जी मांग रहे हैं, एक स्पेशल सेशन ऑफ पार्लियामेंट शुड बी कन्वीन्ड टू डिस्कस ऑप सिंदूर एंड द पहलगाम अटैक। व्हाई इज मोदी जी रनिंग अवे फ्रॉम दिस? आखिर मोदी सरकार क्या छिपाना चाहती है? वह इन महत्वपूर्ण राष्ट्रीय मुद्दों पर संसद में चर्चा क्यों नहीं करना चाहती है? देश की जनता को स्क्रिप्टेड भाषण drone shots or orchestrated or choreographed chupi, silence nahi chahiye. Imandar jawab chahiye.
Now remember, all of this is exactly 1 month since the terror attack in the Baisaran meadows near Pahalgam. While in this period, India has struck terror bases in Pakistan and also struck at key air bases in Pakistan, there are still several questions unanswered, including where are the terrorists behind the attack and how will accountability be fixed for the security lapses in Pahalgam. The fight to catch the terrorists over the last month has still not yielded results. Why is it so tough? Kamaljeet Sandhu and Mir Fareed with this report.
A month ago, 25 tourists and one local villager were gunned down in Pahalgam. The sketches of 4 alleged Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists, including at least 2 Pakistanis, allegedly involved in the massacre, were released by the investigation agencies within 24 hours. The manhunt for the monsters of Pahalgam is yet to find success. The search and destroy operations have widened from Pahalgam to vast forest area of South and Central Kashmir. The mission includes physical scanning of large areas from Anantnag to Kokarnag, from Tral to Srinagar's Dachigam forest. Experts say finding the terrorists could be like finding a needle in the haystack.
It's a cat and mouse game. Whenever our military intelligence or our state intelligence or civil intelligence, when they can catch on to the modus operandi of terrorists, they graduate to something else, either technically or on apps. And similarly, we also keep upgrading our systems of catching the terrorist intercepts, as also the way we handle the counter-terrorist operations.
In the last 1 month, security grid, including the Army, Police, Rashtriya Rifles and CRPF, carried out multiple operations, resulting in 3 encounters. 2 in South Kashmir and 1 in Kishtwar. 6 terrorists, including a senior commander of the resistant front, the Lashkar front, believed to be behind the several terror attacks, were killed. However, the terrorists behind Pahalgam massacre somehow eluded the net.
Peer Panjal range. It's pretty high and it's a very tough terrain. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack. And also there are some tracks that lead you from South Kashmir into Kishtwar area, to Doda area, and the terrorists have been moving in those areas. So it's a question of time, and I'm sure all the agencies, all the security forces would be hunting for them.
The NIA, which took over the probe from the Jammu Kashmir police, has interrogated numerous locals, including pony operators, shopkeepers and photographers. The agency has also analysed mobile phone data, videos and images from the attack site. The reward of 20 lakh rupees have been announced for any credible leads. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, hundreds of individuals, including alleged overground workers of terror outfits, were detained. Most were released after questioning.
With a pause in Operation Sindoor, many say the security forces can fully concentrate on operations in hinterland. And that is why multiple counter-terror operations are currently taking place, both in South Kashmir as well as in Jammu division. And this is where security forces say it's only a matter of time where they get the perpetrators behind the Pahalgam terror attack. With camera person Aman, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu for India Today.
Let me bring you a 30-day report card. Pluses and minuses. First, the pluses in the last 30 days since Pahalgam. India has struck terror bases in Pakistan. And not just any terror bases, they've struck the headquarters, for example, of the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke and of the Jaish-e-Mohammad in Bawalpur. On the minus side, though, no accountability has been fixed yet for the Pahalgam terror lapse. So that's number 1. Let's turn to number 2. Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. There are many who believe that the treaty needs review. It's a 1960s treaty. India is using water as an effective weapon for now to negotiate. On the other hand, Pakistan's army leadership has only got further consolidated. General Asim Munir has now designated himself as Field Marshal. That's the minus. Again, on the plus side, India is building a relative political consensus with all party delegations going across the world to take India's viewpoint. On the other hand, Pakistan got its IMF loan and has not been isolated globally. In fact, many countries have made a distinction between Pakistan and terror. So that remains a question mark, almost a minus. And number 4, the fact is that you've got... Okay, these are our 3 pluses and minuses. We'll bring you more in a moment. But 1 month after Pahalgam, what has changed? What are the challenges in the hunt for terrorists? Will accountability be fixed for the Pahalgam lapses? Operation Sindoor, has Pakistan learnt its lessons? How has India fared on the diplomatic front? Let's try and get an overview today. Joining me now, Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, former GOC 15 Corps, former DGMO. I'm also joined by Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP Jammu and Kashmir, former intelligence chief also of the J&K Police. Amitabh Bhattu is Dean and Professor, School of International Relations, JNU, and someone who's tracked India, Pakistan and Kashmir for decades. And KC Singh, former Secretary MEA at the Government of India. I appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to the first question, which is 30 days after Pahalgam, we have still not been able to find the terrorists responsible for it. Kuldeep Khoda, as someone who's been involved in anti-terror operations when you were on the ground as DGP J&K and a former intelligence chief, how do you see that? Could the terrorists have actually escaped and crossed the LOC, or do you believe that we are closing in on them?
Rajdeep, our security forces, including the J&K police, have an excellent record of dealing with the terrorists who have been involved in similar incidents in the past. And it's a matter of time that they'll be either captured or eliminated. In most of the cases, they usually get eliminated because they get caught in some situation where they get neutralized. So
you don't think that they have crossed over? You don't think that they have managed in these 30 days to cross over? You're reasonably confident that they are still in the Kashmir Valley?
Considering the area where they operated, the visceral area of Pahalgam, it's not very easy for them to manage crossover, especially when the security forces along the border are quite alert. They are in the border was active. It is still sort of active. It will be very difficult for them to cross over. And especially after 22nd April, lots of operations have been launched all over, including Kishtwar, Bhadrawa, which has resulted in 2 operations, including one today also, where 2 terrorists got killed in Kishtwar and we lost 1 army jawan also. And there was an encounter in which 3 Jaish terrorists were killed in Pulwama also. Post Pahalgam, 7 terrorists have been eliminated of both LET and Jaish. So it's a matter of time when they'll be got. In the past also it has happened. Similar thing happened when Pulwama occurred in 2019. There was lots of queries why they are not getting eliminated or captured. The investigation was carried out by NIA. 19 people the 19 terrorists were identified. 7 of them, including the one who was suicide bomber, got eliminated in various encounters. 7 got arrested. And 5 probably they have either crossed over or they have died as unknown terrorists in different encounters. So it is not that the terrorists don't get caught. Average life of a terrorist is about 6 months to 1 year. In fact, 65% of the terrorists, that is the track record of our survey which we have carried out. 65% of the terrorists get killed within 1 year. So, and some of them have slightly more time period, some have slightly less. So we should not be despondent that they'll not.
So you're saying don't be despondent by the fact that 1 month has gone and the terrorists have still not been tracked down. Okay, that's one question that I want to raise. I also want to raise questions concerning our military operations. General Bhatt, do you believe that our military operations have succeeded in ensuring that, as the Prime Minister claimed today, that we have sent out a tough enough message to terrorists? Or do you believe that, on the other hand, it has actually given the Pakistani army leadership a fresh lease of life? You've got the general who calling himself now a field marshal. So Pakistan is claiming victory in a way.
Okay, I'll answer both of your questions. But before that, the question you put to the DGP, let me assure you, we'll get the terrorists. Few days, few weeks, few months, and if at all they happen to go to Pakistan, a few years, but we'll definitely get them. Now, coming to your question about military targets and what we have achieved with it, we have very emphatically, surgically, and with resoluteness targeted 9 terrorist camps and hit them where we wanted to send a message. And thereafter, when Pakistan has reacted, despite our telling them that we do not want to escalate it, we have used the Air Force to hit them at their airfields. And if it had gone beyond, we would have hit them harder. So let me assure you, the message we wanted to send for the cost of the 22 terrorists who had died, we have done it very emphatically. Now, that's a tragedy that in Pakistan, whatever you do, the Akas or the bosses of Pakistan will always upgrade themselves. Who can stop Asif Munir from becoming a field marshal or maybe higher if there is a rank? They can bestow anything on them and declare victory when there is total defeat. That is what I'll say.
But have we, General Bhatt, sent a powerful enough signal for the Pakistan army to abandon its policy towards terror?
So let me assure you that what we have done in Sindoor is an emphatic message. And the other part of the message is that the operation is ongoing. And the new normal which has been set, that another terrorist act, you will again be punished. Let me tell you, it is a very strong message and it will deliver results.
Okay. Let me take then the diplomatic angle for a moment. IMF claiming, KC, that Pakistan met its target. The loan goes ahead. In the diplomatic context, have we been able to isolate Pakistan? Have we been able to sufficiently convince the global community that Pakistan is an epicenter for terror?
Well, I think that's the battle that is on now. I have, in an article I've written in a Bombay newspaper, called it a battle of narratives. And Pakistan has always been better at marketing their narrative because they're much more approachable, much more accessible. Their prime minister is available, their senior military. Somehow we were reluctant to share information. We were reluctant to market a story. We have a story. We have a very good story. But somehow I think we've been deficient at marketing it. And that's why, and then on top of that, you got President Trump interfering. Even yesterday when the South African president is meeting him, he again brings up India-Pakistan. He's created an equivalence. And he again brings in, he's so desperate for a Nobel Prize that if there's any dispute anywhere in the world, he wants to be seen as somewhere on the sidelines of that. Though he'll do nothing much thereafter. Economist magazine put it very well. They said his problem is he wants to mediate, but he will never commit himself fully or commit his resources fully or really seriously get involved in it. And he's continuing the same semi-serious way, which is helping Pakistan. And the second thing which is happening is that Pakistan is now a non-permanent member of the Security Council from the beginning of this year till the end of 26. And that is why the delegations which have gone out, we are targeting 13 countries. There's no point sending someone to China or to Pakistan. The other 13, we are sending delegations to, because the battle is going to be there. And Pakistan will be chairing the Security Council in July, which gives it an opportunity to bring up the issue as they want, in the form they want. We can contest it, but they may bring up Indus Waters Treaty, they may bring up other things. And that is what Pakistan wanted. That's why they said they won. They didn't mean militarily they won. What they meant was and this is an old Pakistani trick. When you escalate, they start moving their nuclear weapons around. And that's when the Americans get concerned, the rest of the world gets concerned, and the Americans jumped in.
Right.
Because even a day earlier, Trump was saying that, we have nothing to do with it. Vance was saying it's none of our concerns. And then all of a sudden, we are having the American president announce that a ceasefire is available. And he did the same thing in 2019. So this is a very old game. And that's what Pakistan wanted. They wanted international attention.
So has
they wanted
Pakistan,
Kashmir.
Net, you're saying when it comes to the battle of narratives, at least Pakistan in this 1 month has not been fully, have we been able to neutralize that narrative, yes or no?
We are still fighting that narrative. That's why you sent out 7 delegations. And you sent them to 33 countries, not 13 countries. So you even sent to other countries. I haven't fully followed the logic of that, but they've gone to 33 countries. Essentially, you want to focus on the Security Council members. But yes, they have their narrative both in the media. We can curse the Western media, but then have we engaged the Western media? You know, you can't be just reading out a statement. That is not briefing. You have to brief. You know, and I've written in a newspaper today.
Casey, I take your point. You know, I want to move on a bit. You know, let me bring in other. Amitabh Mattu, give me your overview. Give me your overview. I put out certain pluses and minuses. 30 days later, can we say with confidence, as the Prime Minister said today, that we have sent out a tough message to Pakistan? Enough is enough. There is a new normal in place.
Thank you, Rajdeep. And I heard all the distinguished practitioners speak. So let me give an academic, more forensic, clinical view. I think there is no doubt that in terms of the strikes within Pakistan, deep within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, we have crossed a Rubicon. We demonstrated that an attack of a terrorist attack on Jammu and Kashmir will invite a response so that Pakistan Army, its proxies, the terrorists, feel the cost. The question is this now going to deter the Pakistani army and its proxies from indulging in the barbaric acts like they did in Pahalgam? The proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Only time can tell. No one can. The illogic or the logic of deterrence is that you only know when it fails. If I was a Pakistani rational policymaker, I would be deterred. Then Pakistan, however, is not a rational state. And you cannot always assume that there will be a careful cost-benefit analysis in its policies. The second question, was there an intelligence failure? Of course there was. I think, for one, New Delhi and Srinagar relied far too much on electronic intelligence, with the result that the human element, what I call the civil security grid, had become marginal to your intelligence operations. Secondly, we did not actually anticipate that tourists would be attacked, that tourists who are soft targets, who invite really the worst kind of response from public opinion, would be targeted in this fashion. We hadn't anticipated that, and we didn't have the human intelligence on the ground. These are battle-hardened terrorists. I agree with what Khoda Saab has said. They have a short shelf life, and I'm sure they will be neutralized. But it is important to recognize that if we have to prevent another Pahalgam, we need to strengthen our infrastructure. Diplomatically, of course, with Donald Trump in the White House, all bets are off. There are no reasonable, rational calculations, again, which can determine how Trump will respond. So on the table are numerous theories on why Pakistan seems to have got the bailout from IMF. Why does Pakistan seem to have a responsive voice? From the fact that Pakistan has a stronger lobbyist, to the point that Pakistan seems to have bought into crypto, which is, as you know, seen as often as a front for the Trump family's fortunes. So there are various explanations. India, as a democracy, hopes that its story will sell for itself. It's a victim. And unfortunately, in this world of fast-moving narratives, it's not the simple narrative which most people absorb. They just want to find a more deeper story, which unfortunately often India is not able to communicate with the same kind of quickness and cunning as Pakistan's media managers seem to do. Whether it is right or wrong to send all these delegations, at least the message is that India stands united, and across the party divide, we are speaking in one voice.
That's a pretty comprehensive view you've given us there, Professor Mattu, but I want to pick up on one of those points which is troubling. We need to fix accountability. This program is being done 1 month after Pahalgam. And I think it is important to know, is accountability being fixed? Pulwama 2019, we are not sure whether accountability was fixed, Mr. Khoda. Now, even at the Jammu and Kashmir police level, at the level of intelligence, at the level of the unified command, at the level of the LG, whose office is in charge. No one is removed. After 2008, the Home Minister of the country was removed. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra resigned. It seems has accountability been fixed? Should this question not be asked? Mr. Khoda, will accountability be fixed for the lapses in Pahalgam, a major security lapse?
Rajdeep, I'm sure that there'll be quite a bit of post-mortem as to why this incident happened and how it can be prevented in future. You referred to Pulwama incident.
But should heads not roll? Should heads not roll, Mr. Khoda?
No,
heads are rolling.
I'm coming to that. Post Pulwama incident in 2019, one DYSP of ours was found to be involved indirectly in the form of aiding and abetting terrorists, providing them some logistic support. He was arrested, he was dismissed from service, and he's still in prison. He's facing the trial. So it's not that the accountability is not fixed. Probably it will not be made out in open. But measures are taken. Everything is considered. With every operation or with every incident, we try to find out how it can be refined further. And but one thing is very I want to underline is that we have to take human intelligence to slightly higher levels, because we are trying to relegate it to background and depending more on technical intelligence. The human intelligence is very important. Technical intelligence gives you overall view of the happening.
I think you make an important point, that human intelligence somewhere. And the other point which many people are making, General Bhatt, is what about the unified command? You see, the unified command has to ensure coordination at every level in a state like Jammu and Kashmir. And there's a feeling that somewhere there have been weaknesses in the system that we are not willing to acknowledge. Do you believe post-Pahalgam there is enough attention on that we need to have a unified command that is functioning effectively under leadership? You need to fix the gaps in the system.
So, well, let me assure you, the security forces there will go to the depth of it, find out what were the faults, take necessary corrections, and if necessary, heads will roll. Not to worry about that. That is not important today. What is important is, yes, to get the lessons right and to correct them. And
so what is the biggest lesson, General Bhatt, according to you? What is the biggest lesson?
Let me assure you, DGP Khoda has been there. I was a young officer and later as a corps commander. The best coordination amongst security forces is there in Srinagar, 15 Corps. I'm proud of it. As a corps commander, I thought that was the hallmark of my command there, and it has carried on.
Okay.
Yes, if things have, you have to realize one thing. Tourists have been going there and the number has been increasing manifold. Yes, maybe that has brought our sights down because we assumed, and that was an assumption which has gone wrong, that they will never attack the tourists. Well, they have done that.
So you're saying that we've been shaken off in a way out of our complacency. Possibly.
We have learned a lesson.
We've learned a lesson, you're saying. Okay. Have we learned any lesson very quickly, KC Singh, diplomatically? Is there a lesson that we need to learn in particular to counter Pakistan narratives early enough that we are the victim, not the perpetrator?
Rajdeep, may I say a thing about counterterrorism? As you know, I was coordinator counterterrorism of the MEA for 2 years. I led the first 2 delegations discussing counterterrorism with Pakistan. Look, counterterrorism has multiple dimensions. And I think what we did, one of the cardinal things the 9/11 report of the US says is information is always available. They knew that there are Arabs trying to fly planes, trying to learn how to fly planes in America. But then as the report says, it was a lack of imagination. You don't know how this may come into practice. Second thing is, no counterterrorism works until you reach out to the minds and the hearts of the people. I think we reached a certain smug level where we thought 370 is done. It's a union territory. Governor's rule, president's rule is there. Right. We've just held the elections, but it's still a union territory. Have we really made a serious attempt to reach out to the minds and hearts of the people? Because that is where the terrorists are recruited. It's not in thin air that terrorism arrives. So it's a multi-level approach when you say accountability, it can't be just of the police or the intelligence officer. It's of the entire system. And I think till we understand that, you'll not be able to counter Pakistan.
Can I just take your point about winning hearts and minds to an interview I did with a pony rider in Pahalgam 2 weeks ago, and I want Amitabh Mattu to give a final quick comment on that. This was a pony rider in Pahalgam, listening to what he told me about Pahalgam's massacre. क्या नाम है आपका? राउफ जी सर. आप पोनी का बिजनेस है?
जी जी, घोड़े वाला हूँ मैं.
कितने घोड़े हैं आपके?
10 घोड़े.
10 घोड़े
जी सर.
अब कोई नहीं है?
बिल्कुल खाली.
बिल्कुल खाली
है सर.
पर क्या करें? वैसरन के बाद उस दिन आप कहाँ थे?
सर हम तो यही थे. ये तो मैं समझता हूँ कि शायद उन लोगों की खुशनसीबी थी कि हम लोग खुद साथ नहीं थे. खुद साथ होते तो हम लोग तो लड़ते.
आप लड़ते?
बिल्कुल लड़ते सर, और क्या.
फिर बाकी के जो घुड़सवार वो लड़े क्यों नहीं?
सर वो लोग लेबर थे, उनको नहीं पता था, वो डर गए. अगर हम जैसे मालिक रहते साथ में तो हम तो लड़ते सर. और इस चीज में तो लड़ना ही है ना सर.
तो आपके कुछ दोस्तों ने बचाया उनको, लाए वहां से पहाड़ से?
हमारे ही कलीग थे जिन लोगों ने बचाया उनको. जो हुआ वो तो उसमें तो हम लोग शर्मिंदा है. इसके आगे तो हम लोग होने नहीं देंगे, चाहे फिर हमें कोई भी करना पड़े. पहलगाम तो कहीं था ही नहीं. हम लोगों को खुद भी हैरानी हो जाती है कि जब मुझे मेरे आदमी ने फोन किया कि यहाँ फायरिंग हो रही है, मैंने उसको कहा टूरिस्ट का कहाँ है, उसने कहा मेरे साथ ही है. मैंने उसको कहा घोड़े छोड़ और उनको नीचे लेके आ जा. मुझे उस टाइम भी यकीन नहीं हुआ कि सच में बहिसरन में भी हमला हो सकता है, क्योंकि ये एरिया पीसफुल माना जाता है. जो हुआ वो बहुत ही ज्यादा गलत.
You see, people in Kashmir, Amitabh, and you know it better, are actually angry with what happened in Baisaran, want action taken against Pakistan. Pakistan has lost a lot of sympathy that it may have had earlier. Is this an opportunity to reach out to the people of Jammu and Kashmir?
The loudest message which should go from the Kashmir Valley to all the capitals where the parliamentarians are going is the huge, unequivocal, unambiguous message against violence. And the loudest message to New Delhi should be that the Kashmiris are saying again and again, not in our name. No more violence, no more terrorism in our name. You have to build on that sentiment, and that is the best way to ensure that your own
should that include a review of statehood? Should that include a review of returning statehood, or will that happen at a later stage? Give Omar Abdullah's administration more power.
I mean, across administrations, I think the time counterintuitively when people say, oh, the situation is so fragile that you should not return to statehood, I genuinely believe now is the time. Now is the time to demonstrate that your constitution is your great strength and that you will not do anything out of fear. And so returning statehood, and also when during an LG's administration, you couldn't prevent Pahalgam. So surely security can't be an issue for depriving people of a more empowered government elected by them. So counterintuitively, I think the Home Minister should and the Prime Minister should live to the promises that they have made in outside and inside Parliament.
Okay, let me leave it there. I've heard 4 clear voices giving us their perspective on what is a very complex issue. But 1 month later, we must raise these questions about accountability, about the way forward. It cannot only be chest thumping, it also needs to be introspection. That's the way you can ensure that we don't have another Pahalgam-like situation staring us in the face. Thank you to all my guests for joining me here on my top talking point. I want to turn from there to the other big story today, a chilling attack outside the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. that left 2 Israeli embassy staff members dead. The suspect, Elias Rodriguez, has been arrested from the crime scene. Israel's president has condemned the shooting as an anti-Semitic act, vowing to stand strong against terror, while federal investigators are continuing to look at the case. Well, joining me now is Ailet Razin, co-founder of the Dina Project, and someone close to one of those who was the victim of today's or yesterday's shooting. Appreciate your joining us, Ailet. The victims of yesterday's shooting, 2 Israeli embassy staff, Yaron and Sarah, What was your first reaction? I'm told you knew Sarah personally.
I met Sarah around the mission I took upon myself. I'm a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, and what I've been doing since October 7th is collecting the evidentials and evidence, and I've been working on collecting the evidence regarding the conflict-related sexual violence, the sexual violence on October 7th, and in regard to what happened in Captive. Sarah was the person who coordinated this subject in the embassy. And what I do briefings where I present the evidential status to stakeholders, to people that it's important for them to know professionally what happened in detail. And Sarah helped me do that in the Congress and Senate, with the professional teams in the White House. That's how I met her, and that's how our hearts connected. She was an amazing person, and she was taken brutally and too soon from this world.
But the attack took place in the United States, far away from Israel. Did that come as a shock to you that in the heart of Washington, this would happen now? Or is that an inevitable consequence of what we've been seeing happening in Gaza, the images coming in from there?
It did not come as a shock, I have to say. Unfortunately, being a Jewish person is an experience of being unsafe. Unsafe in Israel and unsafe around the world. Jewish people who travel on business or pleasure are recommended not to speak Hebrew in public, not to show signs of their Judaism or their nationalism in public places. And this is the experience of being a Jew, not in World War II and in the Holocaust, but in our days. Mm-hmm. And that is a very terrifying experience. And it is the responsibility of governments and organizations that in the name of being politically correct or politically balanced, give stage and legitimize public actions and speech that are anti-Semitic. And there's a exponential rise in anti-Semitic violence and speech in Jews all around the world. And not enough action is being taken, and it's not condemned.
But may I also say that one of the reasons that pro-Palestine protests are gaining traction across the world is the Israeli bombing of Gaza, which hasn't just eliminated the leadership of Hamas and Hezbollah, but has destroyed the lives of thousands of innocents. Children have lost their lives. The war hasn't stopped. Do you think Israel is losing sympathy because of the manner in which the Netanyahu government is carrying on this war now?
Yes, but not only in the US, we see it also in Europe. As far as I know, at least 9 Jewish people around the world have been murdered because they are Jews. In France, a 12-year-old girl was raped as she was, they called her a dirty Jew in anti-Semitic circumstances. And I don't hear condemnation. I don't hear action being taken against people who burn flags or spray anti-Semitic violent mantras like Hitler should have finished the job or go to the gas chambers. There's a line, a very clear line, and anyone who denies it is an anti-Semite. Between these dots, between these protests, and in the name of freedom of speech, people live in fear. Okay. Sarah was an American citizen Her only fault was being a Jew. And she was murdered brutally in the middle of the United States in Washington on outside the Jewish Museum.
Let me leave
It
it
is
there.
the responsibility.
Let me leave it there. It was Ayelet Razin speaking to me earlier today. To tonight's good news story, Kannadiga author Banu Mushtaq and translator Deepa Bhashti won the International Booker Prize for Fiction this year. Heart Lamp is a collection of 12 short stories written over a period of more than 30 years that chronicle the everyday lives and struggle of women in southern India, specific focus on Muslim and Dalit women and their troubles. Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the International Booker Prize winner, Banu Mushtaq herself. Appreciate your joining us, Banu, there from London. First of all, many, many congratulations to win the prestigious award. 24 घंटे हो चुके हैं, 24 hours. Have you come to terms with just what happened 2 days ago, or is it still sapna lag raha hai?
Yeah, sapna to zarur lag raha hai. And even in my dreams, I have never dreamt about it. It is so, let me say, unexpected, accidental, and बहुत खुशी का मौका है मेरे लिए. And I am enjoying it. I am celebrating it.
Your books have struck a chord, Banuji, because you have told the stories in Kannada, of course, of people who are on the margins of society, particularly Muslim women. I know that you've spoken about how Muslim women were denied entry into mosques. You've spoken about Dalits, how they've been oppressed. You speak for the deprived. Is your writing, therefore, you see a form of activism, and this is a reward for that kind of writing?
Yes. That is a part of my activism. And I have worked with Dalits, farmers, and I have been a part of language agitation, and I have been state convener for Bandaya Sahitya Sangatne. That is एक बागी organization है, यानी the organization which does not bow down to authorities. It is with pro people, and that Bandai Sahitya Sangatne के मैं state organizer भी हूँ. इन सब movements और ये बंडाई साहित्य संगठन और कर्नाटका के लोग जो हैं, इनसे मेरा इतना साबिका है, इनसे इतना मुलाकात है, इनके इश्यूज को मैं इतना वक्त देती हूँ. ये सब मिलाकर मेरा कुछ दिमाग बना है, मेरे कुछ इमोशंस बने हैं, मेरे कुछ प्रायोरिटीज बने हैं.
You know, also it's a big day for Kannada writers. Give us a sense of what this means for Kannada writing, for regional language writing, winning this award for a translation. That must give you even more satisfaction that you have put Kannada writing on the world map.
Yes. कन्नड़ा में इतना रिच ट्रेडिशन है, इतना अच्छा लिटरेचर है. आप इसका खोज लगाएंगे और इसका अगर एक्सपोजर हो जाएगा तो वर्ल्ड लिटरेचर में इट विल क्रिएट ए डेंट. इसका ये अपना मुकाम हासिल करके ही रहेगा. बट अनफॉर्चुनेट थिंग इज इट्स बाउंड्रीज आर नॉट एक्सटेंडेड and it has not been translated. It has to be translated more and more. और ये दुनिया के माहौल में या दुनिया के एरिना में it should take its own place and reach the English speaking people and European countries. और दुनिया के दूसरे बहुत सारे हिस्से ये लोगों को ये मिलना चाहिए.
You know, you said that you have always spoken out for the underdog in a way. This is a story about the underdog. You are a rebel. आपने कहा कि मैं बागी हूँ, बागी writer. I am told even in your personal life, you had a love marriage, but you were harassed by your in-laws. You thought of suicide. Your husband intervened. Even in your personal life, as I said, for fighting for Muslim women to get equal rights, has that been a very important part? And at the end of the day, this is a battle for equality. That your writing is about कि सबको एक equal opportunity मिलनी चाहिए.
मुझे सिर्फ मेरे ही लिए नहीं, मैं अपने घर के मेट के लिए भी एक सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट की लाइफ चाहती हूँ। उसके लिए भी, उसके हुकूक के लिए भी मैं अपना वक्त देती हूँ। मैं ऐसे हजारों लोगों के लिए, हजारों औरतों के लिए, और मर्द लोग भी आते हैं, whoever is aggrieved, they will approach me. उन सब के लिए मैं अपना कुछ तो देती हूँ, अपना वक्त देती हूँ, उनको इंसाफ दिलाने की कोशिश करती हूँ और कामयाब भी हूँ. And it is my daily routine work.
You know, you started life as a journalist, you became a lawyer, you've been an activist throughout, you've written all through your life, and now you get the International Booker. Who do you want to dedicate this award to, Banuji?
मैं अपने मुल्क के लिए ये अवार्ड डेडिकेट करना चाहती हूँ. ये मुल्क के हर एक राइट माइंडेड पीपल को ये मैं डेडिकेट करना चाहती हूँ. और इस मुल्क में अमन बने रहे, इस मुल्क में भाईचारगी बने रहे, इसलिए मैं काम भी करना चाहती हूँ. और इस एक फीलिंग के लिए, इस तरफ काम करने के लिए, इस तरफ जुड़ने के लिए, एक भाईचारगी जो होना है, इस भाईचारगी के लिए, और जो इस मुल्क के लिए हर किस्म, हर बाशिंदा अपना जान तक देने के लिए तैयार है, इन सब लोगों के लिए मैं ये डेडिकेट करना चाहती हूँ.
You are dedicating this award to the principle of brotherhood, of peace and harmony. Your books have inspired many more women perhaps to come out and speak for their rights. Do you believe that really will be the true tribute of this award for a book like this? That और महिलाएं आएगी, अपनी बात रखेगी, they will fight for their rights?
Yes, they are already writing. अब देखो फेसबुक में कितना लिखते हैं, ये अलग बात के कहाँ लिखते हैं, वो लिखने दो, कहाँ भी लिखें, एक्सप्रेस करने दो, कहाँ भी एक्सप्रेस करें, मगर वो खुद समझ जाएंगे कि आगे उनको क्या करना है, और उनको मौके बना कर देना चाहिए. मौके बन गए तो मोस्ट क्रिएटिव आर्टिस्ट है एक औरत.
Right, Banu Mushtaq, for speaking to us, for doing the country, your state of Karnataka and India so proud at a global platform like the Booker Prize, and hopefully inspiring many women to tell their stories as you have, with a certain fierceness and without fear. Thank you very much for joining me, and congratulations once again. Acha hua aapse baat karne se. It was Banu Mushtaq talking to me earlier. That's it on the show tonight. Stay well, stay safe, good night, Shubh Ratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.